Walgreens, the largest drugstore chain in America, about 10 years ago created an inclusive distribution center in Anderson, South Carolina. This was the first of its kind. At Anderson Distribution Center, individuals with limited skills, cognitive and/or physical limitations, are recruited for employment. Unexpectedly, these individuals became a catalyst which dramatically altered the organizational culture of their units. Our research attempts to shed light on the gift, the catalyst, that employees with limited skills are to the organizations that employ them. The model we propose furthers the current discussion of inclusive management by presenting how relational-based leadership, the inclusive management style, is actually executed and put into practice. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics give us a glimpse on how Americans with disabilities have an 82% chance of being unemployed. At Walgreens, when they discuss disability, they use the term limited skills, which can be physical, emotional, or a cognitive limitation. Our purpose is to produce a contemporary model of a business innovation process as a starting point for dialogue and discussion for future research. Our research question: how does a company develop employees with limited skills? And we have two other supporting questions. How is the managerial decision making accomplished in an inclusive environment? And what empowers managers to integrate and develop employees with limited skill? The facility in the first column in South Carolina shows a highly automated workplace with 550 employees total. The second is a facility in Atlanta, Georgia, that has no automation, but has about 100 people. We felt it was important to look at both types of distribution centers that South Carolina and Georgia have at Walgreens, so that we can understand and take off the table the highly automated question. We wanted to understand the method of the manager and how did they come in integrating so successfully people with limited skill. Total, we interviewed 31 managers that represent 78% of the managers in both of those locations, and they manage combined about 650 people, of which 247 of them, or 38%, are people that have identified themselves as having a disability. Now, this research was done about 2 years ago, and that number actually now is a lot higher in the South Carolina, with over 45% of the employees having a disability. The methodology really is the case study approach in order to study the manager's perspective that explains the factors enabling the development of their teams. Our study desires to build a theory based on this qualitative research. We collected data using structured interviews with open-ended and semi-structured questions where the managers would give their opinion and give us information about the how and the why of their decisions and how they made these teams work so well together. We also went back to the group managers for a follow-up meeting to pursue emerging themes. So this was our member check. So once we had a rough estimate of a model, we took that back and made sure that it was consistent with what the managers thought. And so they gave us clarifying and updated information. We followed research trustworthiness by the data collection, the analysis, and the findings. And here is table 2, where we show the major findings kind of all in one group of the data. And so we're sorting the data based on these management styles, and 2 basic management styles came out of this research. There's a very focused on task and numbers, or manager-centric, and an employee-centric management style, where the manager focuses on the team member. Also, when in the question, what are the keys to success, we regrouped the data in these different groupings or subcategories. We had the humility theme repeatedly come up, the authentic relationship, or creating respect and communicating with all individuals on the team, the coaching imperative, and the correction imperative. And so those are the answers, or the major categories in the answer to what are the keys to success when we talk to the managers. And finally, we asked what were the challenges and the impact that this management of people with disability or limited skill. And we found the human struggle, the performance, and the overcoming the struggle as key parts of the challenge. And then the impact really was a transformational component. And as we'll see a little bit later, they were talking really about their own personal transformation as a key to what was happening. So let's take a look into the refined findings. And here this is answering the question, how does a company develop employees with limited skill? The first figure really describes the forces at work in an inclusive organization. And you see the resistance, the black arrow, and the white arrow, the organizational commitment. And so there's these 2 opposing forces, and the clash of these forces really create this lift where the organization is really lifted to this higher level of management and really organizational culture. The major force in a fully integrated, inclusive organization is the organizational commitment to being a people-centric, practicing relationship-based leadership, which is the management style required for a successful inclusive manager. Walgreens further supports that commitment by creating the organizational structure supporting manager initiatives and employee training. However, on the resistance side, Walgreens does not remove the production target pressures, and so really the same expectation of production is in place. So for whatever position, it doesn't matter if you're a person with limited skill or not, you have those production metrics that are steady. And so a commitment then on one side of keeping the production targets, then on the other side, a commitment to the employee and helping them best fit into the job and to be successful in the job. Therefore, the managers have to facilitate that through this employee focus in helping the employee. So those 2 forces really create this inclusive reality. So finding number 1 is that Walgreens managers are allowed to adapt their leadership style. And this is a key finding because the environment of the organization does not mandate the managers to blindly follow policy, but to exercise judgment in their role. And so they are flexible to adapt either to the communication style of the individual team member through giving job instructions or giving job aids, visual aids, and sometimes communicating via sign language. So just because maybe communication is set in a certain way, they have the ability to adapt and to contextualize. Each manager has the latitude to determine what actions are necessary to make the team member successful. So here is the model that we came up with, and there are 3 stages to that model. The first one there is the focus on process, and when managers talked about coming to Walgreens, they explained that they really had no previous background. A lot of them came from big organizations that were in supply chain, from automotive to Walmart, and they all were very unprepared for the transition, and so they mostly came in, they're telling us their own perception of themselves. They came in to Walgreens with this autocratic focus, a top-down type of management practice where it's black and white and it's my way or the highway. And so very much numbers focused or focused on metrics. And then you see in the second stage, really, they describe this time where there was a lot of confusion and learning, fear, frustration. And we called it their on-the-job training. So there's an organizational flexibility for the managers to develop. And that on-the-job training is really supported by managers. And they support each other, as you'll see a little bit later. The final stage is the focus on the individual team member. And they talked about changing, and instead of managing black and white, they managed in the gray. They talked about really increasing the capacity of the employees. And it was a focus on people. What was interesting is the metrics were still part of the equation, but it was there was the same amount of weight put on metrics as on people. And interestingly enough, they exceeded their metrics by 20%. And this is true within all the distribution centers for Walgreens that have this disability initiative or this inclusion initiative.